Hi, tonight's devotion is on Jonah and the whale. You may remember from an earlier story that a prophet was someone who delivered messages for God. Sometimes those messages were fun to deliver. Sometimes they were not fun to deliver. Sometimes the prophet was excited to deliver his message. Sometimes the prophet was really not. This is a story about a prophet who was not excited to deliver his message. His name was Jonah. Jonah lived in the time of the Assyrians. Remember the Assyrians? Before the Persians and the Babylonians, the Assyrians ruled the world. They had the biggest army and the most powerful king. Their capital city, Nineveh, was one of the biggest cities anywhere. It was also a mean city. The Assyrians were especially mean to their enemies. And guess who were the enemies of the Assyrians? Yep, you guessed it, the Israelites. To the Israelites, the Assyrians were big, mean bullies. The Israelites really didn't like the Assyrians at all. Now, Jonah was a prophet in Israel. God gave Jonah messages, and Jonah traveled around Israel, delivering them. Everything was great, until one day, God gave Jonah a very strange message. "Jonah," God said, "I have a message for you to deliver." "Where to, God?" Jonah asked. "Where in Israel should I go?" "It's not for Israel," God replied. "It's for Nineveh. I want you to tell them to stop being mean." Jonah was confused. He wasn't a prophet of Assyria. He was a prophet of Israel. And what if the people of Nineveh listened to him? What if they obeyed God? Would God forgive them? The thought made Jonah feel sick. He didn't want God to forgive the Assyrians. They were Israel's enemies. Jonah didn't know what to do. He just knew that he didn't want to do what God wanted him to do. So Jonah ran away. Since Nineveh was east of Israel, Jonah decided to go the other way, west, far west. As far west as he could possibly go, Jonah jumped on a ship headed to Tarshish, a city all the way across the sea. Jonah was running from God. As soon as the ship got out to sea, a huge storm came. The storm tossed the ship around like a beach ball in a swimming pool, and the sailors were terrified. "Everyone, pray to your God so we don't die," the sailors cried out. But Jonah was asleep below deck. The captain went down and woke him up. "Get up and pray to your God, or we will all die," he ordered. But Jonah couldn't pray to God. He was running from God. Jonah was pretty sure God had sent the storm, and it was because of him. "It's my fault," Jonah yelled. "Throw me into the sea, and the storm will stop." "But you'll die," the sailors said. Then the storm got even worse, so the sailors grabbed Jonah and threw him into the wild sea. Jonah could have died, but God wasn't trying to kill Jonah. He was trying to give him a second chance. Jonah would be miserable as long as he was running away from God, and God knew it would take something big to turn Jonah around. Something as big as a whale. So God sent a whale, and the whale swallowed Jonah. Now, normally, being eaten by a whale would kill you, but God protected Jonah in the belly of the whale. And from the belly of the whale, Jonah prayed. He said he was sorry for disobeying God, and he asked for a second chance, like God wanted. And plooey, the whale spit Jonah up, right onto the beach, safe and sound. Jonah stood up, brushed himself off, and set off walking to, can you guess where? Yep, Nineveh. You see, just like Jonah, the people of Nineveh were disobeying God. Just like Jonah, the people of Nineveh were running away from God. And just like Jonah, the people of Nineveh would get a second chance from God. Isn't it great to know a God who gives second chances? Here's our everyday truth. With God's help, I can obey, even when it's hard. All right, here are the questions to talk about with your family. Are you ready? Why didn't Jonah want to deliver God's message to Nineveh? Pause the video and talk about it. What should we do when God asks us to do something that we don't want to do? Pause the video and talk about it. Would you pray with me? Dear God, we want to obey, even when it's uncomfortable. Give us the strength to always do the right thing according to your instructions. Amen. I'll see you tomorrow night for a bedtime story. Bye.